Greetings. Well, what you're looking at here is a Hoya Pasadena from 1982, reference 750501. It belongs to my pal Billy, who was bought it as a coming of age gift. What seems like hundreds of thousands of years ago in actual fact, doesn't it? I should say at this point he's a bit older than me. Anyway, he wore it for quite a lot of years, and as with many things, it fell out of favour and was consigned to a drawer as something sort of newer and shinier took his fancy. So Billy and I got to talking watches in the pub one night, and he told me about this particular watch. He'd been to a jeweller with a view to having it restored, and the cost estimate had been akin to servicing a fucking Lamborghini. So he'd reconsigned it to the drawer and forgotten about it. Anyway, the upshot of our chat was that rather stupidly, Billy said I could have a crack at it if I could get it running at a sensible cost. The first job obviously was to take it apart and see what needed to be done. The obvious start of a 10 before opening it up was that the crown and stem were missing and it wasn't running. As you can probably see, the case is pretty heavily beaten and the PVD coating is quite thin, worn through in places, especially around the raised case rim that surrounds the dial. With, you know, there's no actual bezel. When I opened it, it was clear that the watch had suffered from some kind of water or moisture ingress, as the mechanism had rusted up into a pretty well single lump of metal, which I'll show you in a minute. The face and chapter ring are in really good condition. Again, I'll show you the face in a second. The hands are predictably a bit depleted in terms of coloration and any kind of luminescence. And then, having had a skeg on eBay, I priced up a replacement movement, which is the Veliju, now ETA 7750, which you can get for about 250, 300 quid, quite a lot less if you were prepared to accept one of the knockoff ones, but Billy wanted a proper one. A new crown would be about a £5, and a new metal strap would be something ranging from 15 to 50 quid, although you know, getting a decent crown and a decent strap to actually really fit the watch exactly is going to be quite tricky, but we'll get something. So here's a little look at some of the things, well, all of the parts that we've taken off. As I said, the chapter ring is actually pretty good underneath the glass, which is unmarked. The dial is pretty good. It's the no-name Pasadena. Originally they used to say Pasadena, and then in '82 they took the names off quite a few Hoya watches and just left the automatic designation on there. The second hand was obviously red or orange. It looks more orangey to me now, but that could be the depletion. It could really do with being resurfaced, but it's going to be pretty tricky. Likewise, the second hand, our hand is white, as are the three small hands for the chronograph, and then these are the pushers for the chronograph movement, which are screwed in from the insides to hold the pushers on. I would suggest that they're not very waterproof, and consequently I imagine that the water ingress that actually killed the watch in the first place probably went through there, and I'll show you that next. Here's the innards that I started to dismantle just for fun, frankly. You can probably see there the stem and where that had rusted itself into the movement. Managed to get the top plate off. I actually couldn't get these two apart. The rust was So well established. That's the rotor arm, if it will come into focus. Let's see the rust there. Give you a bit of a view of some of the rest of the bits that I took apart. Let's see if it'll focus on this iPhone. There we go. Anyway, it's not going to get put back together again. The fact is that for the princely sum of £230, we've managed to get hold of a brand new Velogy movement. And here it is. And did I say brand new? No, it's not brand new. It's obviously second hand. But it is a Tag Heuer, albeit the watch was obviously pre that and was just a Heuer. So this movement's a bit newer, but it's good. And it was a sight cheaper than it would have been if we'd have bought it new. So yeah, a good deal. So this is the case of Billy's watch, and it's pretty dirty. I've taken the strap off. I don't know if you can see all the muck in there, but basically this needs a pretty good clean now. And what it also needs is just on the pushes, you can see some copper oxidization on those, so that probably just needs a bit of a clean up too. So we'll go away and we'll do that with a toothbrush, and then we might come back and do a little bit more around the copper oxidization with a very, very thin bit of sandpaper or something, but maybe not. We'll have a think about that. Okay, so we've now done a fair bit of cleaning on Billy's watch, and it's come up quite nicely. I'm just going to use these now to have a look at these pusher lugs, which you can see there, and probably clean them a bit like a dentist, just by sort of giving them a bit of a light scratch now. Most of the sort of oxidizations come off, but it's now just a case of just giving these a little bit of the same treatment as you might get with the teeth in a dentist, just to take the last of that oxidization off. Then we'll grease them before we put the pushers back on. Ideally, I would take all of these out and reseat them, but they either push out or they screw out. I have a suspicion that these push out, but I don't really want to try. It's not my watch. I don't want to make a mess of that, so I think just cleaning them up is going to be good enough in this case. The interesting bit of work is going to be to find a crown that fits this particular watch. It'll be the last thing that I do, so I'll put the movement in, I'll measure the stem. I know that the crown was 6mm across and 4.5mm deep on the original. And then it's just a case of deciding whether we have a tube that goes down inside there, or just leave it with, have a tubeless one that fits nicely over with a nice gasket in it. I mean, it'll fit nicely over with a gasket in it anyway, but it's just whether there's room to go down, you know, for a stemmed crown to go down that little tube. But anyway, we'll just keep on with this little bit of work, clean that up as best we can, and then we'll get on with putting the movement back in. So we've got it set up to put the dial and the hands back on. I kept thinking about whether to recolour the second hand, which I think is also the chronograph hand, timer hand, that is, and actually decided that it would look a bit silly unless all of the hands were restored to have one that really popped and then the others not. So, which led us to the conclusion that the answer was to leave all of the hands as they were. So I'm just going to pop them back on. I'm going to pop the dial back on. There's a couple of things to do, namely to release the dial holders, which are around the rim here. There's two of them from this Velogy movement. They're sort of hooks that will tighten up against the little spurs off the bottom of the dial. So if we turn the dial over, I'll leave that into view. We turn the dial over. There's a couple of little hooks that you can see there. They slot into the holes accordingly, here and here, and then in here and in there are a couple of little hooks that I'll just ride out now, and hopefully manage to do that without breaking them, and then we will put the dial back in. Okay, I've just got a slightly flatter pair of tweezers to do that job. They'll actually go into the little hole at the side. And then we just get it into the little hook. You can probably see it's beginning to come out now. That's that one. Okay. There's another one. I might have been better off actually taking that out, taking the movement out of that plastic holder, but I rather like the plastic holder, I have to say. We know that the movement is at 3 o'clock. Can I just use my hopefully that's going to sit in there, and it does. That sits in very nicely indeed. And actually I can use these to put that back in. They'll need a bit more pressure. That's very good. that's fine. That all looks very good indeed. So before I do anything else, I'm going to clean the dial a little bit with some Rodico. Make sure that that's absolutely not got any dust and stuff on it at all. It's interesting actually. I don't know whether it's psychosomatic, but it does feel to me as if after every dab I can see the white on the dial, particularly in these chronograph dials, much more clearly. You'd say that has to be psychosomatic, doesn't it? But the watchmaker's placebo, Rodico, maybe. Anyway, that's that. It's all ready to take the, oh, well, interestingly enough, look, that's a dirty bit of Rodico now. Maybe we'll actually, maybe we'll do that again, because that is a dirty bit of Rodico, isn't it? Let's see if that, still getting brown. See if automatic comes up a bit more clearly as well. It's not getting much browner. I think we've probably taken the majority of the dirt off, but can't hurt, can it? That that little marker there looks as if it's a little bit damaged. You'd have thought that it couldn't really get damaged under a. Anyway, there we are. That's all very jolly. It does look brighter. I think we ought to put the chronograph hands on first. So they're closest to the dial. God, they're small. They're really small. I can see them, but only just, and really got to get these somewhere close to the dial without making balls up of it, really, and without scratching the dial itself. Ooh. They really are small. I'm going to have to get my magnifiers back on to even see what on earth I'm doing there, I think. Well, good luck. You might be here sometime. What I can see is how bent that hand is. Ugh. And what's really worrying is actually how easy it is to get them. There's a fair chance I'm going to chase this around the table, isn't there? Well, this is actually the first ever hand I've put back onto a watch, so it's not surprising. It's I'm making a bit of a meal of it. Might leave that one there for a sec. See if we do any better with this one. Sort of. I don't really know whether this is still a really good idea or not. I guess this is really where you do need a microscope. That's one. I'm thinking that a hand that hasn't seen the decades of alcoholism that mine has might not be a bad idea here, but that's two. This is hilarious. That's three. So we've got these hands on. That one doesn't look ideal, I have to say. That one looks a little bit sort of like it's so bent it might catch on the way round, and that's right. That is right. So I'm actually going to take that off and see if we can't just straighten that hand. I might have to actually get my hand removers back onto that one. So I'm just going to check that that's free. So that one's free, and that one's good. This one probably just needs a little bit of straightening as well. It is free. Feels as if it needs a little bit of cleaning at the top there. I don't know whether that's a problem or not. God, look at that. It's, right. Let's see if we can get that other one off and just straighten it. It's got a downward kink in it, which is not looking brilliant. Bear with me. Fucking bastard. Fuck off. Turn that around that way. Oh, I think I need to pick it up by then. I need to pick it up there, don't I? That's it. Fucking get on, you cunt. So the second hands are on. This particular one is actually the second hand's for the time. So the large orange hand is going to be a chronograph hand. That moves around. We're going to put the hour hand on first. There we go. Quite like that at 12 o'clock, but make sure that's I have to say that's a little bit less than straight. Amazing. What's amazing about these hands is that when you don't want them to they're all the fucking same size. That's pretty good. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay. Just push that around. Oh. Obviously what I should have done at that point was I really want the date going over at the right. So that's just gone over. So if I can just move that on its pinion. Up to 12 o'clock. That's very nice. Do the same then with the second hand. You can see that. Just gonna fucking use that Rodica again. So the minute hand, I should have said. And I just push that on very, very gently. Not very hard at all yet. Maybe this a little bit more. Maybe just move that round on its pinion to 12 o'clock. Where are we? That's actually about. I don't think that has moved on its pinion, has it? No, that's no fucking good. That is no fucking good whatsoever. Oh, for fuck's sake. Fuck off, will you? Fucking thing. Alright. That's it. Right. Fucking bollocks. That's the reason for not doing that, isn't it? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ on a bike. Fucking amateur hour this is. Proper fucking amateur hour. Okay. That's that one on. Right, let's pop the second hand on. Make sure that's that. Thumb on that, yeah. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Just move that there while we push it on. Okay. Let's push it on, okay. Get it on nice and tight now. That's right. Okay. Make sure it's not impeding on anything. Show it our hand that it doesn't get caught on anything. That's brilliant. It just clicks over on the right table as well. That does. Fabuloso. Right. Now, what I'll do is we'll get this baby back on as well. I wonder if the underside of this was painted. I'm just going to pop that onto the Rodico like that. If that's leaning, maybe it's just a little bit leaning, that. Maybe just there. This is a bit like the little devil. Little devil of a push it in properly. Now what we do know is that that is going to impede, because that is as bent as fuck. So it's going to alter that. And we're going to press our little friend here. That's not really doing much, is it? Oh, get that. How good is that? Okay, that's just caught on the hour hand there. Okay, so that's bent. Right, so let's just stop that. That's bent at the back. So fucking hell. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have a working movement. That's very fine indeed. Very chuffed with that. So the next thing to do is actually just to put those stoppers in. I'm just going to put a little bit of some form of grease on there. Good idea. This is actually just gracefully. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the plungers back in. I hope you can see what I'm actually doing there. So what I'm going to do now is put these plungers back in. I could do, my light's not actually in the right spot for me here, but it's not a big deal. So they basically go in like that, and then one of the plunger lids will go on. We know that that plunger lid's got a bit of a mark on it, so we're going to put that mark down. Oh dear, I managed to have pushed that out while I was doing that. So just try that again. Sorry about that. Not made life easy for you to see. But realistically, it's me that's doing it, so there we go. I'm going to screw that in. Back to Sonic the Hedgehog. My quite clearly toxic trembles. It's not ideal, this. Maybe need a screwdriver that's a little bit smaller. That's maybe. It's not quite all the way in, but it's getting there, isn't it? What I don't understand is what that is moving on. So that's obviously the pusher for the Just needs a little bit of lube really in there. I'll get some shortly. That's what it is. There's no spring in it. Just get the other. So I want the silvery bits at the bottom really. I'm just going to try and pop that on. They really grip. They're it's like a serrated top. So it'll be interesting to see how much further this one goes in. When I took these out, this one protruded just a little bit more than this one. So it'll be interesting to see if this one goes, this one that I'm screwing now goes further into the recess. I think we've reached not quite the end. Okay. There's one more. Half a turn. Might be a bit of... That's it. Get another screwdriver. It'll fit. See if this one's any. This one actually go in. Yeah, that's fine. That's not going to tighten up anymore. So that's fine too. Okie dokie. We'll drop a bit of oil onto those when we put the crown on. I don't actually want any oil on the inside. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get some Rodicoat and we're going to really make sure that the crystals nice and clean on the inside. Well then, we're back with Billy's Pasadena. It's been a few weeks actually since we filmed most of the repair or regeneration of this watch, but there was a couple of things that I didn't particularly like. I didn't like the strap that I'd bought for it, so I'd ordered a new strap. I needed a new crown. There was a few iterations of getting a new crown to fit into this socket here, and the Velaju movement, which we bought for it, came with a 12 tap crown stem in it, so I've had to obtain a 9 tap to go with this particular crown. So the last little job to do here is to whip the holding stem out and put the new one in, get the case done up, and put this strap on, which is quite a nice thick black PVD coated metal strap, and it's got, handily enough, these easy easy put in spring clips. So we'll just get on with that. I think the first job's going to be to take the crown and the stem. I'll debag this. There's the crown. Here's the stem. Just got to be careful not to lose that. There it is. And I'll get closer up, I think, and we will put the stem, or the crown on the stem first. So I'll hold that very gently in these pliers, and then I'm going to sort of sit down. Going to get that on. That's job number one. All right, so that's tightened. The crown's tightened up. Job number two is to get my appropriate pair of tweezers and press the button on the velajou to take the stem out. And then let's pop this in, see where we get to. I'll press the button again. It should help get it in. Okay, so, look, that is very nice indeed. Very, very nice indeed. So that's winding. We're going to shorten the stem, clearly. Oh, we've only got one go at this, so we can't cock this up. But it should be all right, because what it doesn't do, this particular crown isn't on a screw, so just cutting it the right length is going to be fine. You know, the issues that we have, it's 6.5, it's got to be reduced by. Yeah, the issues that we've had previously on other watches where the stem winds in, and the consequence of having a windy in stem is that it's very sensitive to getting the length incorrect. Slightly too short, and you're changing the time as you unwind the thing off the case. Slightly too long, and so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check that the yeah, doesn't wind in far actually. It would wind in a lot further on a Seiko stem. So that was fine. That measurement was fine. I just felt as if it didn't wind in that far. So if we take 6.5 off that, that's going to be thick. It's fairly short, isn't it? It's fairly short, so I'll tell you what, it's a bit nervous. I'm a bit nervous about this because the stem itself cost, I think it was probably 10 quid by the time I'd paid postage and everything else. And it wants 6.5 off it. But that's meant to be correct. It is meant to be correct. It was winding, wasn't it? I'm just gonna double check it is the answer, because it's so sensitive, this. got that sort of carpenter's feeling of measure twice, cut once. All right, so that's winding. That's winding it. Ah, right, so that wasn't located. Still not located. Oh, yeah. So press the button down. So, right. Now it's located. Haha, right. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So now it is located, definitely. Yes. One. Yeah. Second hand's going round and it's winding. So it's in the winding position now. Right. Okay. Right, now I'm going to remeasure that. Guess what? It's still the same. All right, at least we know that we are cutting it off to the right length. Which is fine, actually, isn't it? Because if you think about it, it's in and it's really, yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. Right, I'm happy as I'm going to get with that. So it wants to get shortened up by yay much. There's hardly any stem left. Only just enough to wind it on, really. Okay, so we've kind of double checked and everything seems to be all right, doesn't it? That would suggest to me that it's the right length. Taking quite a lot of stem off. I don't know if you can see how that, you know, it is always a worry. It is a worry. So. Okay, I've done it now. The clip has been taken. I'm going to put some of this stem glue on. It felt like quite a clean cut, so I'm just going to risk this without doing anything to the end of the little thread. Needless to say it won't, so I'll just get my little friend the file, and in vision of you I'm going to just take any burrs off the end of that. That feels a bit better. Drop a bit more of this this stuff on. There we go. Not much. task just to make sure that we don't thread it on. There it is, it's going on now. Okay, so I'm going to turn that round. I'm going to hold it fairly loosely in the pliers, and then we're going to just tighten it right up. That's it, and she's on. That is it. So I'll just take that excess tacky away, and then we'll slot this in. Okay, it's slotting. It is slotting. Let's just press her in. My exuberance, I've obviously knocked a couple of spare hands about. Sure I had a spare orange hand around somewhere. There it is. That's good. That's good. Okay. Case back on. Billy is going to be absolutely chuffed to bits with this when it's done. Right, that's tight. And what's good about that is the movement was slightly loose in the case without the case on. It just seemed to be dropped at the at that end, at the sort of 9 o'clock end, which it's not anymore, so that's great. The case obviously just holds it all together, so that's sorry, the case back, I should say, seems to just hold it all together. So the last little job is, and I love doing this at distance, because my eyesight isn't quite what it used to be. I've got to get that in a hole. If there is one. I'm sure there is one. There it is. Pull that back. Find. There we go. That's located. Do the same on this side. Put our little friend in. You might or might not be able to see that very well, I don't know. But that's it. And there we have it. The Tag Heuer Pasadena fully restored. And Billy is going to be very, very pleased with that. Very pleased indeed. You can see the second hand for the watch is the 3 o'clock. The 9 o'clock small dial, and the large hand is what you might imagine to be the second hand is the chronograph hand, which goes thus, and off and reset. Any slight irritation is that this particular button is a bit stiff. Sometimes needs just pulling out a little bit manually if you're using the chronograph, but I don't suppose Billy is going to use the chronograph very much. He's a 65-year-old man. He's not exactly going to be sprinting around the park and stop watching it. So I think I think that is that.